So
Previously
I'm
on
going to
Hunting with
restore
Dribbler.
a Nintendo NES system.
This is not the nicest bathroom in the world.
There's no possible way I could have shown you what I did. These sections have been properly dosed. All right, so let's put this thing back together.
I collect so many things. Would you like to share this journey with me? I will show you the prizes I got today. So come along with me, come on and join in the chase. Yeah!
What's happening, folks? And this is the segment called Sitting Down with a Reseller. And I have brought in an incredibly interesting and talented reseller. His name is Tim. His channel is Over the Years, and Tim loves vintage items. So we're going to start off with, let's just get a little bit of background from Tim. And by the way, first of all of you folks, if you have not seen this channel, I'm going to say this a number of times, go check out his channel. High quality production and incredibly interesting content. So all that being said, Tim, where are you located? Tell me about yourself. Give me some background. We want to know about you.
So right now, currently, I live in DC. I operate a majority of my business out of Maryland, where I grew up out of. So I'm always like bouncing around. So like if you watch my channel, you'll notice too that like I put a lot of other people in my videos that are like super important to me. Yep. My girlfriend Josie and my mom, who we all call my Dukes.
Yeah.
So like I thought it was important to kind of like show the people that really push me to become what I'm trying to become. And like they're helpful, so helpful. So like it was important for me to show people that like this isn't just me like living the dream. Like This is a lot of work, and I have these two strong women that help me out every single day. So like I'm super grateful for that. I am a full-time reseller. I sell on 6 different platforms. I have a YouTube channel, and that's pretty much it. I've been full-time since February 1st of 2020 was my first day full-time.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. All right. So hold on. Something I've had to ask you for a long time. Tell me, do you have a name for your beard?
I don't, you know?
Come on.
I don't. That's the crazy thing. So look, and my other YouTube channel, the football podcast, the name of the podcast is actually called Authentic and the Beard. So it's literally just like, I guess I'm the beard. And it's funny you bring up the beard because today I found out that my beard might actually be too good for my own, too much for my own good.
What? How is that possible?
So I had the GoPro on my backpack today, right? Like I had never really used the GoPro on my backpack before.
Okay.
So I had the GoPro on my backpack. I just got the strap because I was like, you know, I got an old GoPro, like a GoPro 4 or something like that. But you know, like I do a lot with my camera on my phone. So I got the GoPro on, and then like after I get out of the estate sale, I'm like, I want to check the footage, right? And it's like, all you see is just like this like drape beard, right? So like every time I'm like leaning down or picking something up, the beard just like sucks up the GoPro. So yeah.
Oh boy.
But I guess I'm gonna have to figure out how to like fix that. I'm gonna go to the flea market tomorrow. So
have you ever done the ponytail on the beard before?
That's what Josie was telling me when I texted her. I was like, the beard is covering up the GoPro, and she was like, tuck it. And I was like, tuck it? What do you mean tuck it? So I guess I'm gonna have to like, you know, wrap it up in a nice little, you know, ponytail.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's fair enough. Good response. But so the family is, you got Ma Dukes, you got Josie, you got Ace, and you got AKA.
Romeo's my mom's dog.
Oh, okay.
Ace is me and Josie's dog.
Okay, Ace is, okay, that's with you, and then AKA the motorcade.
The motorcade, yes.
That's the family.
Yes. So the motorcade is basically like my vehicle. So like I said, I'm always bouncing around. So like literally I'll drive from DC to Maryland, then wherever I got to go in Maryland, back to DC, back to Maryland. Like I'm always on the go. Like, and then I'll go to the flea market in Pennsylvania. I'll go to Delaware, West Virginia, Virginia. Like, I just drove. It was like a week or two ago. I drove to some town in Virginia, man. It was deep in the woods. And so I saw an ad on Facebook Marketplace for this sick white satin Dale Earnhardt and Brooks Dunn jacket.
Oh, man.
And so she had like 5 jackets, and she wanted like $20 or $25 for each jacket. And I was like, how about I buy all the jackets? And can we make like a deal? And then she was like, yeah. And I have like 35 shirts, and I have a whole bunch of hats and jackets. And so we started negotiating, and then like it ended up, I ended up getting the 35 shirts and 8 jackets, and I paid $15 a jacket and $8 a shirt. And the shirts are all like 1990s. Oh, yes. Every one is Dale Earnhardt, like all over print, super vintage. I have one from like 89. Like, I mean, they've been. I've finally got them all listed, except for I haven't listed the jackets yet. I'm still working on that. I have the 35 shirts listed, and I've already sold like 5, and it's like some of them have sold for like $70, $80, and I'm $8 in per shirt. So like, wow.
All right, so the motorcade clearly has put on some miles. There's no question about that.
Oh yeah.
All right, fair enough.
The greatest part of the way I hate talking about taxes, but like I drive a lot, so I guess that's a good thing.
Oh, absolutely. That's what is it? 52 cents a mile? 54?
Something like that.
Yeah, yeah. There's no question. If you're doing your taxes, you'd know very well that there are a series of write-offs, and driving around, mileage is one of them.
So the motorcade pays for itself.
All right, so one thing that I noticed in watching some of your videos, and you already mentioned football a little bit, but you have a passion. You mentioned music to me earlier before we started this, but you also have a passion in sports. If I'm not mistaken, you have listened or you play basketball? Is that right?
Yeah, so unfortunately with, the shutdown and everything, so we play every Monday night, and we basically play from 8 to 10 every Monday night.
All right.
And it's like back to back to back to back. As many games as you can run up to 21 every game, full court. And I'm 36, so like there was a while where I didn't play, like, because in high school I played football, basketball, and baseball, varsity top level. And so like I skated a lot too. Like if you've seen, there's like one of my latest videos, like I think it was like 4 or 5 videos ago. I started off the video with a clip of me skateboarding, like hitting a fakey varial flip on the bank. So like,
that's what I'm talking about.
I try to, like, sports is a huge part of my life. Sports and music, it always has been. And I mean, like, a lot of that, even though I did get in a lot of trouble when I was growing up, it kept me from getting into further trouble. So like,
that's nice.
So like, it's important to me, and plus, like, at this age, it's great exercise.
Oh, no doubt.
And I'm a super competitive person, so I gotta get those juices going somehow.
I hear you. Well, I'm 6'4" guy, and when you get into a certain level of basketball, 6'4" is not very tall. And if you can't dribble a basketball, you're kind of worthless out there.
So look, it's so funny that you say that, because like I'm like 6 feet, right?
So you're not short at all.
But I mean, in the basketball world,
you are.
I'm short, right?
Yes.
So like, I remember in high school, they'd be like, my high school is also super competitive. Like I grew up with a lot of people, that played. I grew up with a couple of dudes who played D1, won national championships. You know what I'm saying? So like,
that's amazing.
It's crazy, like the competition out there. But I always played like a big man because when I was younger, I was big. So like, not like, I was tall, So like, I've always played like the 4, a little bit of 5. But then you get to high school and it's like the point guards are the same size as me. But I don't dribble. I mean, I can dribble obviously, but like I'm not Allen Iverson out here or something, So
yeah, and you're in the mecca of basketball over there too.
Oh yeah, dude, they just dropped that documentary on Showtime. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called Basketball on the Water. It's about all the players from PG County, which is a county like that borders DC and Maryland.
Yep.
And like all the players in the NBA that came from that county. It's a really dope documentary.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah, I bet you that number's insane. Well, I got to say, a lot of similarities, very different reselling, really totally different paths in reselling. But let's dive into this, because one thing I definitely want to know, and a lot of people are curious how a lot of resellers have done. Tell me, how did you do? And I want to say how did, like it's past tense, but how have you been doing over the quarantine? How has that been for your business? And like, how was the sourcing? Were sales good? Was the sourcing terrible? Were they both bad? Was it both good? Tell me about it.
To be honest with you, I think it's kind of like a roller coaster during these 3 months in reality. So the first thing is that, you know, a lot of people started sourcing online auctions. Okay.
Yep.
So like I've been doing online auctions for like 2 years now. So in 2018 into 2019, I was doing Shop Goodwill, and I was killing it because nobody knew.
No one knew.
And then all of a sudden, like towards the end of 2019, getting into 2020, like it was nearly impossible because you know, you have collectors and you have resellers.
Yep.
So it's like for me, you know, like I started trying to like really dissect it. So I was like, all right, well maybe I can win auctions in my area and I can cut costs on shipping. So I still have room for, you know, profit, like in my business, you know, model of what I find to be a reasonable profit. And so that was kind of like the thing, was that everybody was like, oh, you can just source online. And I'm just like, I'm looking at the numbers and I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, I don't know how y'all are doing this.
I don't either.
Because the way I'm doing the math, like it's just, it doesn't add up, right? And
unless they were collectors, because I saw the same thing. Like you could buy some of the stuff that was going on Shop Goodwill on eBay for less money, and Shop Goodwill doesn't have a guarantee that some of it's in the condition you think it's in.
Exactly. So like, you know, I did a little bit of dabbling in that, but then a lot of the Shop Goodwills like stopped shipping too. So like, you know, then everybody kind of moved into like Hybit and stuff like that. And then it's like, you know, once again, like you got to think about it. You're paying the premium on the auction. You know, your winning bid, you're paying like a 10 to 18% premium on that. If you're not local, you're paying a shipping, you know, and then it's just like, you can't really see it. Like sourcing online is super difficult.
Absolutely.
Especially like when you deal with a lot of what I deal with too, because, you know, not every auction house is going to be clear with you that, okay, there's no chips, no cracks, no dings. And it's just like, look at pictures and you're just like, I don't know. So then like sales wise, for me, it was kind of interesting because right before we went into quarantine, I kind of had an idea. Like I was like, you know, like it's funny. We were talking about basketball. When I was watching the basketball game where Rudy Gobert for the Utah Jazz tested positive, right? Yep. So like I played DraftKings too. That's the thing I did. So like I'm like, the game is postponed. I'm like, what's going on? And then like they canceled the NBA season, and like me and my girl Josie, we were supposed to be flying to Ghana. So like I'm about ready to go the next day to get my visa, and I'm just like, I don't know, Josie, I don't think this is looking good. So I went and I spent like 4 days from like open to close sourcing as much as I possibly could.
I gotcha.
Everything. Yep. So like, you know, because like I said, I sell on 6 platforms. So I made sure I had enough, but it wasn't enough. I'm going to be honest, it wasn't enough. Yeah. And then like, you know, I started, you know, you just got to get a little creative. So like, you know, I started cross-listing more stuff. So moving stuff from my Etsy store to eBay to Mercari, you know, and then just like literally just digging through like, you know, I don't have like a lot of people say they have death piles, right? I don't really necessarily have death piles. What I have is like items that take serious and intense research. So like, you know, to properly identify and you know, get back the amount of money that is right. Which makes sense because, you know, like you should have to put in the work to make the
good sure. Absolutely.
So like I had some of that stuff, and a couple of those pieces paid off. Like I had this one, they call it a tureen. It's like a big giant handled covered dish, right?
Yeah.
And it was made, it's a Limoges, and it was made by a special, not a special, but it was made by a highly sought after maker in a pattern. And so literally Josie had picked it out at an estate sale because it said Limoges on it. So she had got it maybe like a year ago. It was like $10 at the estate sale. And it had been sitting around, and like I had moved it like 100 times. And I was just I had been started doing like this every like few months. I do this like super clean where like I try to like, just redo everything to kind of like re-spark myself. And so I saw the dish and I was like, man, you know what? I'm about to just put this thing on auction and just whatever happens.
Let it
I
go.
don't care anymore. Like there's been times I wanted to throw that thing across the room. And so I was like, before I do that, let me just dive in one more time, because like for me, the education and learning process never stops.
Sure.
I spend time every single day. I make sure I dedicate some time to learning, whether it be, about products, whether it be about a genre, whether it be about YouTube, whether it be about a platform that I'm selling on. I just dedicate a little bit of time to improve my knowledge on all of the things that are incorporated in my business. So I was like, let me just, a lot has happened in the time from when I picked that up and tried to figure out what it was to now. So like I did a little research and found out it was worth a lot of money. So I listed it for $500 and it sold within like 10 hours, I think, for $450 best offer. So I'm like, man, I've been sitting on the floor for like a year and it was just sold for $450. And like I went to sleep, I listed it, I went to sleep, I woke up and sold it. I was just
That's beautiful. Love that.
Yeah, so it's been up, and as far as sales go, like I had some really good days. Like for me, this is the thing. It's like I know I try not to necessarily set an exact number as far as what I want to sell, right? In my head, I do, because I know how much I need to make to live.
Yep.
And so like that's the most important thing. It's like, I'm not a very materialistic type of dude, so it's like I live a pretty simple life. As long as I can eat, pay my bills, buy my girlfriend whatever she needs, and we like to travel too. So stuff like that, that's all that matters. And I don't need like fancy clothes, fancy car, fancy this, you know what I'm saying? Like I just want to be able to live. And so for me, it's like I didn't have any days where I didn't sell zero items, across the board. So that's a good thing about selling.
That's a great thing. Absolutely.
Like, you might not sell something on eBay today, right? But I might sell 2 things on Etsy, 1 thing on Poshmark, 1 thing on Grailed, So like in that aspect, in that mind frame and mindset, it was great. I survived.
That's awesome.
Obviously we're still kind of like figuring out how to get out of this thing.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm still above water, so that's a plus in my book.
You've got the first of all, your business model is exactly what people should be thinking about, especially when sales are slow. Selling across multiple platforms, it was a question that I had on here, which you mentioned Grailed, eBay, Etsy, Mercari, right? You do Mercari. What other platforms you do? You do Amazon, maybe? Poshmark?
Poshmark, but this always trips me out trying to do this. It's Poshmark, Mercari, Depop, eBay, Etsy, and Grailed.
Okay. Jeez. Woo. That's a lot of work, man. And then, so if you cross list, what happens? You have to delist one from another if that happens?
Okay. So I use List Perfectly.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard of that. And
so, shout out to Tommy, because Tommy put me on to that. And it has been a game changer for me, because I use a simple version. So $29 a month, right?
Yep.
And basically what I do, everybody kind of does it differently, based upon how your workflow is set up, based upon the platforms that you sell on. For me, I like to start my listing in List Perfectly. So, and I've kind of progressed my workflow process over time too. So now what I'm doing currently is I'll take the items, right? And I'll, whatever I have, or just my haul, I'll put it on the table, and then I'll do the research, the comp, and then I'll write out the description, you know, the title, and then I'll put a price in there that I'll delete later, but I'll put a price in there so I remember how much I'm gonna sell it for. And then after I do that for everything on the table, I then photograph everything. And then after I photograph everything, I upload my pictures, and then I upload them to the listings, and then I just start firing the listings away.
That's
so basically, if you list your item from within List Perfectly, so say I list it on all 6 platforms.
Yep.
And it sells on eBay. I just go in and I go to edit that listing.
Yep.
And I click sold, and then all the tabs will pop up, and it'll take it down from all of the.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, so you've got a system. Yeah, so you've got it. You've got a system to list across the board. So you're listing on 6 platforms. You're using a tool to help you list. It sounds like not only are you incredibly efficient, but you're smart about your reselling business. And a lot of people don't always take advice from people. And Tommy is someone that I can also say you want to take advice from Tommy if he's giving it to you. Am I right?
I mean, 100%. And it's like, you know, some people have this, like, they're stubborn in a way, right? And like, I completely get it. And it's not like, I think what people mistake is a lot of times people think that when somebody's telling you something, they're telling you that you have to do it this way if you want to be successful, right? But you can't look at it that way. Like for me, it's like I listen to, it just goes back to that sponge mentality. The same thing with like knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm just you gotta be a sponge because you gotta soak it all in, right?
Yep.
And it's about trying. Like you can't be scared to try things. Like if you would have told me, you know, a year and a half ago that I would be selling hats and shirts at the same time as I'm selling glass in China, I'd be like, man, you're crazy. I don't want nothing to do with that. But like, you know, like you always have to be, if you want to continue to be successful, you have to learn how to adjust, apply, and adapt. Like those are 3 things to me that are super important.
Yep.
You know, so like I'm always like trying to learn new things and apply them and just like tweak it a little bit. You know, like I don't watch a video on YouTube and be like, all right, I'm gonna go do it exactly like that guy because my circumstance is not the same as that guy.
Right.
Everybody's a little bit different, you know, and it's like there's no necessary. I mean, there's a lot of things that are like make sense, right? And then you have to do it and see the outcome in order for you to really believe it and understand it, right?
Sure.
But at the same time, it's just like not everything is right. It's not as clear, cut and dry as right and wrong. It's like, you know, you might take something that I see from one video and take something I see from another video, put them together, sprinkle a little Tim on top, and then I got something completely different, you know? And it's just like you got to keep evolving because if you continue this flat line, you're going to fall.
Yep. And that's the same thing with sales. You've got to be creative. You got to know the trends in the market. And if you're somebody who's, especially on YouTube, if you're someone who's motivated by monetizing, and that's not my goal. It never was my goal. It hasn't been my goal, and I'm not monetized. But creativity and having a creative outlet, using YouTube, using editing, going out there and seeing some of what I call as a hobby. You call as a hobby, but you also know your hobby is also now a part of a job, right?
Yeah.
You go out there and you start to recognize that if you're looking at creating a YouTube channel for fun, then it's fine no matter what happens. But as you start to recognize that your audience, I mean, it's natural. You start to recognize that your audience doesn't necessarily want to see the same thing over and over. Sometimes they do. There are reseller channels out there that just stick to the exact format every time. And it is without fail that they will get 10,000 views without question. You are locked and loaded for the rest of your YouTube life. But I think for someone like you who really strives to get that, you know, the creativity around, you know, the different types of reselling or what's unique about today that I can just factor into my reselling. That's something that I can say personally, I try to do with my channel as well. And it shows in your channel, Tim. It really does show. So hats off to you, man. Hats off.
I mean, it's like with the YouTube thing, it's just for me, like I've always been kind of like, you know, there's a line, everybody's in the line. I'm kind of like floating out the side of the line type of guy, you know, it's just, and I got to a point kind of just where it was like, you know, everybody always told me, oh, you know, you should be on like TV or the radio or YouTube, you know, this and that. Like, I remember I almost made it onto Real World.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Back in the day. So like, it was crazy. The whole process of that was insane. Like we'll talk about that one day. But like, it was wild. But like, you know, I wanted to be me. Like, I don't want to be everybody else on the other channel.
Yeah.
Like the way I look at it is like, you know, if I'm your cup of tea, then you're going to take a sip. If I'm not your cup of tea, you're going to pass it to somebody else. And that's okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, but like for me, I just thought it was over time, I started realizing it because people everywhere I went, people would say something like, you don't really strike me as the type that was buy all this glass. And I was just like, yeah, I get that a lot. And then like I set up at this flea market every Sunday. And it's kind of like it's not bougie, but it's a nice, it's not like, it's a nice flea market.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know, it's kind of like more like it's a real blend, but like it's very antique-y. And so like, I remember the first time I set up there, I was getting the side eye left and right. Who is this dude? Like I show up right with a U-Haul, and I'm pulling out the tent. I got the over the years banner. You know, I got the matching canopy color.
That's what I'm
I got
about.
all the tables with the black tablecloths.
That's nice.
All my stuff is color coordinated into this giant horseshoe, and then I got like stacks of like farmhouse and industrial stuff, and like people are like looking at me like, where did this guy come from? And that's when I kind of was like, you know what, maybe I should just like put it all out there. And so like that's how it happened. And like in reality, I was telling you earlier, like when I started YouTube, I didn't even know there was reselling YouTube like that. You know, I watched a couple of vintage channels, and like my mentality originally was I'm going to start YouTube to generate traffic to my Etsy store. And then like, it just kind of like steamrolled into what it is now. And it's just like, for me, like, you know, that's what's crazy. Like you said, it's like my initial goal was never to be like, I want the money. I need the money. You know,
Absolutely.
Like, but like when things started rolling, it was like, you know, like it seems so impossible. Yeah. When you go back and you look at it and you're like, damn, I gotta get 1,000 subscribers. It took me like 6 months to get 100. Like, and I'm like 100 times 10 is 1,000. Right. So then that's like 60 months, and then I'm like, oh, then I gotta get the hours. I'm like, oh, this is never gonna happen. Like, you know, but like, and everybody said that too. They were like, man, you're crazy. You're not gonna make no money on YouTube. So like in my mind at that point, like my whole life, I had a lot of that. A lot of, you know, you can't do that. You're not gonna do that. Like, and so for me, it's like, all right, I'm gonna do it. But
now
I'm gonna
do
challenge.
It.
I'm gonna do it the right way. I'm gonna do it my way.
That's absolutely right.
And I'm gonna stay organic. And it's just like, you know, like I see a lot of trends on YouTube, and like I don't knock nobody's hustle because the community is what has got me here to this point right now. Yeah, I can spend 20 minutes thanking people for real. Like, you know, like from the smallest channel to the biggest channel. Yep. Like, you know, I didn't want to do everything the same as everybody else. Yeah, man. I don't like, I see a thumbnail. I know there's gonna be an arrow on that thumbnail, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna put an arrow on my thumbnail just because everybody else is doing it. Like, that's not my style. And then I'm like, I see all the dumpster dive, and I'm like, I ain't about ready to jump in no dumpster.
I'm not going to jump in a dumpster either.
Like, that's just not me. And it's like, I feel like, and then I get excited when people get excited about what I'm excited about.
Yeah, man.
So, like, I started seeing, like, people were starting to get excited about learning about glass and stuff like that. And I was like, so for me, like, the biggest reward of all of this is when people message you on Instagram or, you know, comment on your YouTube or Facebook, and they're like, thank you. Like,
yeah, man, it's so rewarding.
Taught me something. And it's just like, man, damn, that just like makes my day. Like, you know, like, see, I'm a real nice guy. you know, like, you know, and I stand up for a lot, and like, just, I always want to help people because I know what it's like to be, you know, on the other side of the train tracks and like being on the down and outs. Like, I've been homeless twice.
Oh, Jesus.
You know what I'm saying? So like, it's been crazy. Like, you know, like I moved to New York right after high school, and my brownstone in Brooklyn burnt down the third week I was there.
Oh, God.
I couldn't come back home to Maryland because my mom already rented my room out. And then like Red Cross gave us $50 in a hotel in Coney Island for 3 nights. After that, we was on our own.
Oh.
So then like I slept on the train for a little while, and then eventually I was with 3 other dudes. We bumped into this girl that went to the art school at our high school. She's like, yeah, y'all can crash with us. So it was 7 of us living in a studio apartment in the East Village.
That's what I'm
talking bathroom. About. So like, you know, like I toughed it out, and like I came back like a completely different person. Like, the first thing I did was give my mom the biggest hug. I was like, I never really comprehended all the stuff that you've done for me my entire life. Yeah, man. Like, damn, you really did it, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and then I had a struggle, you know, like I was an addict and an alcoholic. Yeah. So like I hit rock bottom. I lost everything. And like from that day on, you know, I was like, okay, I got to change my life. So that's been 9 years. In May just passed was 9 years. So
congratulations, my man.
So like, you know, like it's just, I feel like everything I've done through my life, and I've worked a lot of crazy jobs, man. I've worked in the restaurants. I worked for the government, retail, you know, like I've done everything. And then like, I feel like everything that I've done and everything that's happened to me in my life has prepared me for the ups and downs of reselling and the ups and downs of YouTube.
You have a unique perspective on all this, right?
Like, it's just perspective. You got to kind of like, you know, that's what it's all about. It's about perspective. And you got to think about, it's all the littlest details make the biggest difference. And so I'm a big believer in paying attention to details.
Oh, I like that. So let me ask you this. If it's attention to detail, then tell me how in the world can you ship a dish somewhere in the United States without worrying that thing is not making it in one piece? Tell me how that's happening.
So thankfully, you know, my Dukes is like, if you go to my channel, there's a video of me and my Dukes basically showing you guys how we rap. Yep. And so, like, it's interesting because when I first started, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And I remind you, I started in Etsy, and like, you know, I started selling my mom's stuff. Like, that's how I got started. And then it just took off. Yeah, and then like I was like, yo, there's a huge market for this. And so, I mean, like I was writing out labels, you know, writing the addresses on the labels. Like I had no guidance.
I know. I've been there. I was there.
All trial and error. Yeah. So I'll never forget. I had like my first big week, right? I sold like 10 things, and I'm like, yo, this is crazy. So one of them was a Pyrex bowl, and then there was like a teapot, and then like a glass dish. And so like I took it all to the post office, and like of those 10 orders, 5 people got their orders broke. And I was like, and it wasn't necessarily on us because, you know, with our packing, but it was just like the post office that I was going to, it wasn't good. So like at that time I was getting ready to go to St. Lucia, and I had to go to another post office to get my passport. So I go there, and the women there were so nice. And I was like, yo, I'm just going to take my packages here. So then, like, I realized, all right, we got to come up with a plan here. So then it just kind of like, you know, trial and error once again. And so now, like, we've literally gotten it down to a science. So
that's beautiful.
I've shipped close to 3,000 items. Oh, right?
That's what I'm talking about.
So basically what we do is you can kind of see this is the packing area here. This is my haul of new stuff. I just picked this all up today. Nice. So I got this packing paper here, right? So we'll take a dish, you know, wrap this all up in paper, right? Yep. Then after you wrap it all in paper, you put small bubble wrap, which is this.
Yep.
You know, just your regular, not regular, because, you know, I've been through like 3 or 4 small bubble wrap companies until I found the right one for me. So then you do this. So you got the paper, you got the small bubble, right? Yep. And the thing is, most important is like you gotta like really pay attention to the item. Yep. Every item is going to be different,
right?
So like you shipping this versus this, the packing method is going to be completely different. Yeah. So like you with this, you gotta really pay attention to the rims of everything, rims and spouts. Anything that you think could be broken will be broken. So that's how you gotta pack. Like, and this is the thing is like, I don't mind paying the money for the supplies. I don't mind because I charge the shipping accordingly most of the time. You know what I'm saying? Yep. So it's like, and I feel like people, there's this whole debate about free shipping, whatever. But I feel like people, which they're buying stuff like this, they don't mind paying the shipping because to them, this is worthless if it comes to their house, in pieces. Totally. Yeah. So like, so then after you do the small bubble, the paper, the small bubble, then you go to this guy. And I'll rip off a piece for you really quick. That's
what I'm talking about. This is the heavy duty.
This is industrial strength air sealed bubble wrap. So like, there's no popping that. Yeah. So look, basically like, we rip them off individually because if you notice, like, there's like this gap of like just thin thin plastic in between each sheet. So like, if you just were to rip off a whole sheet and put it on, there's a good chance that like non-protected area is going to land on a dish, land on an area that needs protecting. So we take them off individually and just kind of like place it all around, and then so at the end of all that, you can basically sit there on your table like a little volleyball, just bounce it up and down a little bit, and then you're good.
You're good.
But then you got to worry about the box. So when you're a box, like you got to think about it like a mother bird and her little baby birds in their nests, right? That's how you want your item to sit in the box. You want it to be nested.
That's what I'm talking about.
Be careful. So don't let nothing touch the box, right? And then you do the shake test.
No movement. No movement.
You're good. So like, I haven't had anything break since that time. So
that's awesome, man.
Well over 2,000, almost 3,000 items without breakage.
Well, listen, I'm the level of knowledge you have in this category is mind-boggling to me, and you acquired it obviously over the years. And what I want to, I one other really important two things really. Number one, I'd be silly if I didn't mention the best shirt you've worn on any episode is the Beavis and Butthead shirt, without question.
Oh yeah.
I mean, do you think you have a better shirt than that one, or is it true vintage, by the way?
Okay, so if it would have been true vintage, then it would have been hands down, but it wasn't true vintage.
Oh no, great.
I could sit here live, but I'm a straight shooter, so
there you go.
Literally, I was at Burlington and Coat Factory,
and you saw it,
doing a little RA, and I was like, man, that brought me back to.
Yeah, of course, I was there, man. I was
on TV. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to get that because the reason why I bought is because I do the football podcast before I was doing lives on YouTube. And it's like, I'm on the air every week. So like I started after 10 weeks of the season, I'm like, man, I'm running out of t-shirts here. I can't be repeating the same shirt in week 12 as I wore in week 2, So like, I was like, let me go to like Burlington Marshalls, pick up some cheap tees, that look good. So yeah, that's where that came from.
All right, I like it. All right, so last question, and this is kind of like this is the tip. This is the tricks of the trade. What is something that you would kind of hold dear to your heart that you're willing to reveal to the audience that will aid them in becoming better at reselling in the genre that you sell? Because a lot of people, either one, if they know about it, they're already maybe trying to do it. But what's the trick here? What do people need to know, and what's the secret that you're willing to reveal, if any at all?
For me, first of all, I'll say this: I keep no secrets.
Everyone knows.
Yeah, that is like the number one point of our channel. So like is basically like I've always been under the impression, and like the way I live my life is knowledge is worthless unless shared with others.
I hear you.
You know? Because like if you know everything or you know all these things, right? But you don't share that knowledge with other people so that knowledge can continue throughout, you know, different generations and different areas, then it'll die with you. And what's the point of knowing it then, you know? So like I try to, and I feel like, you know, people can relate to learning through us because we're real. Like there's no gimmicks. There's no like, you know, like I can't, because to hear somebody talk about glass, and like I go to like auction houses, like high-end auction houses and stuff like that, and I'll tell you, one time I brought a piece and like the dude just blew me off completely because of how I looked and how I talked. And I was just like, you know what? And he ended up being super wrong. Like he didn't even take the time to look at it, and the piece ended up being a super valuable piece. And I was like, you know, I'm not going to be that guy. Yeah. So like the first thing is, I guess, like to be detailed is the black light, the flashlight. So like for me, uranium glass is like, and Vaseline glass is a huge part of my business. And so I learned that very early on. And like I had like a little keychain one. Yep. And I'll never forget when I found my first piece of uranium glass. The 2-year anniversary actually was just like recently. So I found that first piece and I thought I won Mega Millions, but like it ended up being worth like $10. But the story is that like that sparks me, and that's really the secret, is like find something that sparks you, right? And then really dive into it. Take the time, because the secret is really just your will, your dedication, like to be able to like take what you do seriously, like
overcoming complacency.
Yeah, and that's the thing. But like that black light has made me tens of thousands of dollars.
Oh, that's awesome.
You know,
that's
so like,
awesome.
And the thing is that, you know, don't always necessarily pay attention to the trends, right? Yep. You do pay attention to the trends in a certain aspect. Like when you're in the moment of the trend, yes, but you can't make your foundation based on a trend. Okay? You make your foundation based on trends, plural, because everything goes and comes back. Yep. Rarely does something just die and then never makes a return, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Because like if I had everything that I had growing up in the 90s right now, man, I'd be a millionaire. You know what I'm saying?
I'd be too.
Exactly. But like, so when I started, I got fascinated by uranium glass, just the whole concept of it and the beauty of it. And I said to myself, I'm like, if somebody who doesn't necessarily like or is intrigued by antiques or vintage items, there's no way they're not intrigued by a piece of glass that glows.
Yeah, man.
Not possible. Yeah. So like I found that and I ran with it, and everybody was like, "Oh, the glass market is down," and da 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 da. I'm like, perfect. I'll buy it all. So like I had an entire basement full of uranium glass, and my people were coming over. They're like, "You sure this is okay?" Like, you know. And I'm like, looking at it, I'm like, you know, I always tell people, no, it's fine. It's about the same amount of uranium as like a banana or a granite countertop. And then I'm looking, I'm like, there's a lot of it though. Like, you know, like there's a lot of it, like 500 pieces. And so like, I kind of just like stockpiled it. And then next thing you know, it took fire, and it was like, I sell uranium glass every day. And so like, just find a couple of things and really learn about it. That's my secret, right? That's the first secret. And I'll give you one more. Second secret is use the tools. The tools are out there. Yeah, man. Like you know, like my other working space in the other room, like I got a bookshelf, whole bookshelf full of books. Because like when antiques and vintage items, the books are gold, because like that's where you get the real information. When the internet, everything's like telephone game. You know, like if one person says it's this, then somebody else sees that, and then they listen like that. So then next thing you know, but use the tools, you know. and don't be afraid to put money into your business. Okay?
Agreed, man.
So like that's the thing is like, you know, like you're gonna pay fees. There's gonna be taxes. There's gonna be like listing fees and you know, promotion fees. Like, what do you think? McDonald's don't pay money to advertise? You know, like
exactly.
So like use your tools. Like for me, and then the third thing is like, I guess this is all like reselling secrets. So use your tools, and then the third thing is gonna be is like you gotta have a routine. Like like for me, like I get up in the morning. I make sure I post 3 items on my Instagram. That's my Antiques and Collectibles Instagram. And then I post 3 items on my other Instagram, which is like clothes and shoes and hats and electronics. So I do those 6 posts every day that I possibly can. And then I go into each of my platforms and I do everything I can do in those platforms. So if I'm on Poshmark, if I have a whole bunch of likes, I send out offers. Same thing with Mercari, same thing with eBay. And Grailed, you know, you got to bump your items. You do that. So it's just like doing that, and then it's just like the listing, and I mean, it's just you can't give up. I mean, it's gonna suck sometimes. Trust me.
Of course.
There's days when I'm just sitting here like, man.
Oh, sometimes you're just sitting on a sale, going, when is it gonna hit? When is it gonna hit?
So like that's the thing is those 3 things for me right now are like have been key in the progression of growth. You know, and it's just like, don't give up. Like you're gonna have bad days. Like it's just the fact of life, you know. But like it's the way that you handle yourself in the face of adversity that defines who you are as a person.
Folks, this is Tim from over the years, and I can say not only have been a bit inspired from just the way that you really approach your business, but man, your tactics, your motivation towards like, you know, learning things. And all I can say is people like me appreciate it. And I think there are a lot of people out there, audience members like me, that really appreciate it. And I want to say thank you for being with me, just sharing your knowledge and sharing just something different, right? Because it's all about how can you introduce different ways for resellers to be a part of this community. My channel is about trying to get people to see how many different variations of reselling there is. And Tim, you embody such a beautiful side of reselling that I don't get to do very often, but I can tell you after this episode's over, I'm going to be looking up some uranium glass. I'm going to the thrift store with my blacklight, man.
But see, like that's the best thing, man. Like I mean, like the other day I was watching, you know, I just picked up an N64, and then I was like looking at your channel, and I was like, I got an N64 for $1 at the yard sale.
Oh.
That's awesome. But like I'm watching your video, and I'm like, this is about how to you know, popping open the top loader.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And I'm like, man, like this is the type of things that people need to see. Like, and like I try to do it too. I'm like, you know, like I try to show everybody everything that as I'm learning it. Yeah. Like as soon as I learn it, I'm like, yo, I'm gonna go play this on YouTube so somebody else can learn it. Because the more people that are learning and the more people that are doing these things, it drives the market. And as resellers, that's what we want.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
So like it's all love, and like I'm super stoked and super grateful for you bringing me on. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely,
it's been so much fun. I know me and you could talk for probably like 5 hours.
I could sit here for a long time. I assure you. Yeah, we've got a lot of parallels here. It might be different in reselling, but we got parallels, man.
Yeah, so we will definitely link up again for sure.
Absolutely, man. And if you ever make your way to Southern California, if that happens, if you come here without connecting with me, that is not okay.
No, I'm actually kind of, so I got family that lives in Carlsbad.
There you go, man. Let's make it a point. If you can spend 1 extra day or even a half a day, I will bring you into the warehouse and we'll hit Long Beach for all of its worth.
That'll be so much fun for sure. So next time I come out to Cali, we're definitely gonna hang out.
Sounds good, everyone. Thank you guys again. And we will see you next time. Take care.
Next time on Hunting with Tripler.
Right out of the gate.
Okay guys, for 60 bucks, here was my haul. I got this Fender Stage 100. I'm gonna test